Hello class, this afternoon, we are going over adding and subtracting decimals, but first we are going to need to get out our notes about reviewing decimal places. It's going to look like this with your example, and yours will have blanks where mine are filled out. Okay, and then the other notes that you are going to be needing to get out are the adding and subtracting decimals. It's going to look like this with another example on it, and we are going to go through adding and subtracting all kinds of decimals and all different problems. And after we go over that, we are going to be playing some games with the groups. We are going to play pick or wheel. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up your assignment. It has instructions right here, but I will do a little bit with you. So you're going to be adding and subtracting decimals, and here's your instructions right here. And so each box is going to be completely blank except for this bar. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your picker wheel where it's your add and subtract, and you're going to spin. Okay, so we are subtracting first. So that's going to be in our first box. And then we're going to go over here to our second picker wheel. And this one we're going to spin twice because you're going to be adding or subtracting two numbers. So in this case, we're going to be subtracting two numbers. So we're going to be subtracting 50 and 67 hundredths. So make sure you go back to your assignment and write that down first so that you can remember. And we're going to spin it one more time. And we're going to subtract 6, okay? So we're going to do this game after we go over our notes today, and I will help you do one or two of them. To start off our lesson about adding and subtracting decimals, we need to review our decimal places because this is a big important thing. So I do have an example here of the decimal places from the left to the right. Today we're just going up to the hundreds on the left side and the thousands on the right. But here you can see an example from ones to the billions on the left and tenths to the millions on the right. So we're reviewing the number 513 and 619 thousandths. So the first number on the left of the decimal is in the ones place. So if you could put that in your blanks, ones. And then we're going to count over one time. You see how 3 is right there? That is your ones place. So you only go over one time. The number 2, this will be the answer for that blank right there, places to the left of the decimal, is in the tens place. So that's going to be 1 and 2. The number 3 places to the left of the decimal is in the hundreds place. That will be your blank. And let's count 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and you have 5 in your hundreds place. So the number that's one over from the decimal is 6, and that's in the tenths place. Do you see how that has the THS? THS is a big indicator that it's going to be to the right of the decimal. Let's move on. The number 2, that will be for your notes, the number 2 places to the right of the decimal is in the hundredths place. Again, with the THS. So let's count 2 places to the right of the decimal. Ready? 1, 2. Now let's circle that number. So that number is 1, and that is in the hundredths place. Don't forget to put 2 in that blank right there. The number 3 places to the right of the decimal is in the thousandths place. So this will be the blank. And now let's count. 1, 2, 3. And then 9 is going to be ending it with it being in the thousandths place. So this number is going to be 513 and 619 thousandths. We're going to be using the THS. Alrighty. So the furthest we're going to go today is to the hundreds on the left side and to the thousandths on the right. So let's go to our notes about adding and subtracting decimals. So again, I have put in another example about what places are for their decimal points. So if you need any references, make sure you're coming back up here to look. Okay. So let's get started. What are the steps of adding decimals? First, we're going to find the numbers that are being added. And then we're going to set up the problems just like an addition problem, but we're going to be lining up the decimals. So here are the numbers that we're going to be adding. 8 and 519 thousandths plus 2 and 831 thousandths. So let's set it up like an addition problem, but we need to make sure that we are lining up our decimals. So 8 and 519 thousandths plus 2 and 831 thousandths. So 9 plus 1 is 10. We will put the 0 here and bring up that 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, but we have to add in this 1, which is 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. So we need to make sure that we bring down the 3, and then we're going to bring the 1 up here with an 8, but we can't move on yet. We need to make sure that we bring down that decimal. Now, we need to do 8 plus 2. That is 10. But we can't forget this 1 right here. So that's going to make it 11. So, 8 and 519 thousandths plus 2 and 831 thousandths equals 11 and 350 thousandths, or 35 hundredths. Alrighty. So let's move on to the next question. 79 and 62 hundredths plus 12 and 18 hundredths. So you have 8 plus 2, which will be 10. Let's carry up that 1, 6, and then plus 1 is 7, but we got to remember this 1 up here. That's going to be 8. No carrying over any 1, so we are bringing down that decimal. 9 plus 2 is going to be 11. So we need to carry that 1. 7 plus 1 is 8, and then the 1 is 9. So our answer here is 91 and 8 tenths. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a trickier one because we're going to the hundreds on the left side. So let's start off with 100, 1 and 3 tenths, and then 300 and 1 tenths. So 3 plus 1 is 4. Now we have to bring down the decimal because there are no other numbers on the right side. Now, 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 and 0 is 0, and 1 plus 3 is 4. See, just because it's a bigger number does not mean it is harder than the others. So you end up with 401 and 4/10. Okay. So, what are the steps for subtracting decimals? It's going to be almost the same as adding the decimals. So, you're going to find the numbers that are being subtracted. You're going to set up the problem like a subtraction problem, but you're lining up the decimals. So first, let's find the numbers that are being subtracted. You have 8 and 738 thousandths minus 6 and 124 thousandths. So let's make sure we're lining up those decimals when we're writing. 8 and 738 thousandths minus 6 and 124 thousandths. So 8 minus 4, that's 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. Now we have to stop and think, what comes next? We're going to be bringing down that decimal. Alrighty, and our last step is 8 minus 6, which will be 2. So our answer is 2.2 and 614 thousandths. We have 19 and 64 hundredths minus 12 and 31 hundredths. 19 and 64 hundredths minus 12 and 31 hundredths. 4 minus 1 will be 3. 6 minus 3 will be 3. Let's bring that decimal down before we do anything else. 9 minus 2 will be 7. And then 1 minus 1 will just be 0. So this will bring that number down to 7 and 33 hundredths. Alrighty, my friends. Our last problem is 231 and 7/10 minus 120 and 4/10. 7 minus 4 will be 3, and then we can't move on unless we bring down that decimal. 1 minus 0 will be 1. 3 minus 2 will be 1. And 2 minus 1 will be 1. So you have 111 and 3/10. Okay, so we are going to try adding whole numbers and numbers with decimals. First, we're going to find the numbers. We're going to set up an addition problem. But the thing that's going to be different is the decimal will be right after the whole number. We're going to have to find that. It's not given to us. And so then we line up the decimals. So we have 23 and 5 and 82 hundredths. So 23 will have a decimal and 2 zeros following it. And then we will add 5, the decimal, and then 82 hundredths. So 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 plus 8 will be 8. Bring down your decimal. And then 3 plus 5 is 8. And then you have 2. So the answer is 28 and 82 hundredths. Okay, now let's move on. We have 2 and 49 hundredths plus Sorry, I did not give myself enough room. Plus 16. So we're going to place the 6 right under the 2 and the 1 out here. And then we're going to place a decimal and 2 zeros as placeholders. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 0 is 4. Drop down that decimal, make sure it's lined up. 2 plus 6 is 8. And then we just have 1 right here. So our answer is 18 and 49 hundredths. Okay, friends, this is our last problem for adding whole numbers and decimals. We have 100 right here. But just because it has 3 numbers doesn't mean we don't add a decimal. So we're going to put that decimal right after our whole number and add 2 more zeros so that we are lining up everything. And then we're going to add 45 and 98 hundredths. Make sure you're lining up that decimal. 8 plus 0, 8. 9 plus 0, 9. Bring down the decimal. 0 plus 5, 5. 0 plus 4, 4. Bring down that 1. You have 145 and 98 hundredths. Awesome. Now we're going to be subtracting whole numbers and numbers with decimals. We're going to be finding the numbers, setting up a subtraction problem, and then we have to add a decimal again to the whole numbers just so that we can line up the decimals. So let's start here. We have 12, but you have to add a decimal and make sure you have enough zeros so that you are able to line up the 2 numbers. And then we have 6 and 2 tens. So let's start here. Well, you can't take 2 away from 0, so that is going to have to become a 10. 2 minus 10 is 8. We're going to drop down that 0. Since we took 1 away from 2, it has to become 1. But you can't take 6 away from 1, so we're going to have to make it an 11. And so that's going to have to become 5. And so now we don't have a 1 over here because we borrowed it to make this 11. So our answer becomes 5 and 8 tenths. Alrighty, friends. We have, this is question 2. So 45, we have to make sure we add a decimal and just 1 0 for this one because we only have 1 number after the decimal for 5 and 5 tenths. 45 minus 5 and 5 tenths. We can't take 5 from 0. So 0 is going to have to become 10. 10 minus 5 will be 5. Bring down that 0, don't forget it. So since we borrowed a 1 from 5, we are going to have to make this a 4. But 5 can't be taken out of 4. So 4 must become 14. 14 minus 5 will be 9. We borrowed from 4, so that no longer is 4. It is 3. Bring that 3 down. 39 and 5 tenths is your answer. Our last question is going to be 8. Don't forget your decimal and your 0. Minus 4.8. So, the question is again, can you take 8 out of 0? Well, no, you can't. So you're going to have to borrow 1 from 8, which will bring that to 7. And this will become 10. 8 minus 10 is 2. Bring down that 0. 7 minus 4 is 3. We have 3 and 2 tenths. Okay, So I hope you filled out your notes correctly. We'll be going over your homework in just a little bit, and then we will do an activity. Okay, so now that we're done with our notes, let's start our pick or wheel game. So what we're going to do is go to your pick or wheel where it is add or subtract. Okay? And so we're going to press spin. Let's see, can you see that? Okay, we're going to do subtraction. So let's make sure we go and write that down. So we're going to make sure that we write down subtract. Or you could put your little subtraction symbol. Now let's go to our number wheel. Okay, we have all our options here. We're going to spin. We have 139 hundredths. So we got to make sure we put that in so we don't forget. 139 hundredths minus, go back to the picker wheel, press done. You always have to press done so we don't delete the other ones. Let's press spin. We're going to subtract 8. Okay, and we're going to make sure we add our equal sign in here. Alrighty, friends. Now let's do 139 hundredths minus 8. So let me go to my notes real fast. So 139 hundredths. You see that? Okay, so what do we do with the 8? Well, it doesn't have a decimal yet, but we have to line up our decimal when we're adding and subtracting decimals. So we're going to line up the 8 with the last zero of 100, and we're going to make sure that we put a decimal after that 8, and we need 2 placeholders, so we need 2 zeros. So 139 thousandths minus 8. Let me make sure that's like. Okay, make sure you have your subtraction. So let's come down here. 9 minus 0 will be 9. 3 minus 0 will be 3. We always have to make sure you are dropping down your decimal. You cannot go past this step. Okay, so you cannot take 8 out of 0. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to borrow, and this is going to have to become 10. So 8 minus 10 is 2. Oops, I am writing the wrong number. And so if we're borrowing from here, you can't just have a 0 and a 100 over here. So you have to borrow from this one. This one becomes a 9. So you have to bring down the 9. So you have 92 and 39 thousandths. So that's where you're going to come over here. You're going to make sure you put, oh my goodness, 92. Make sure you have your decimal. I put that in the wrong place. I'm very sorry. 92 and 39 hundredths. Okay, friends, if you will do this with your group for a few minutes, I know there are 24 questions. Just get as many done as you can. And then after that, we will have an exit ticket and we will be done for today.